Ann Carter, the acting chairman of the National Endowment for the Arts, and the 194th meeting of the National Council on the Arts is now in session. I would like to welcome everyone this morning, council members, our NEA staff, and our partners at the West Virginia Department of Arts, Culture, and History. I also want to thank our hosts, the West Virginia State Museum, for inviting us to use this beautiful facility today. We're thrilled to be here in Charleston. For the record, the council members who are present today are attorney, musician, and former member of Congress Paul Hodes from Concord, New Hampshire, urban planning and community policy specialist Maria Rosario Jackson from Los Angeles, California, arts patron and trustee Charlotte Kessler from Columbus, Ohio, arts administrator Maria Lopez de Leon from San Antonio, Texas, dancer, choreographer, and teacher Ronnie Ramaswamy, producer, actor, and writer Diane Rodriguez from Los Angeles, California. And joining us on the phone this morning, our violinist and music educator Aaron Dworkin from Ann Arbor, Michigan, music professor and arts administrator Emil Kang from Chapel Hill, North Carolina, organic farmer and author Mas Masumoto from Delray, California, and museum director Olga Viso from Minneapolis, Minnesota. We regret that some council members couldn't make this trip, and they include Bruce Carter, Lee Greenwood, Deepa Gupta, Rick Lowe, Barbara Prey, and Tom Rothman. Now, it is my great honor to introduce Commissioner Randall Reed Smith, curator of the West Virginia Department of Arts, Culture, and History. He and his team have worked tirelessly to make our meeting here today possible. We're honored that Randall will open today's meeting with the rendition of the national anthem. Please join me in welcoming Commissioner Randall Reed Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise as we have the posting of the colors by the West Virginia Air and Army National Guard. Please remain standing for the national anthem, followed by the pledge. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated. Welcome to West Virginia, and we are honored to host the first meeting of the National Council on the Arts in over 27 years outside of our nation's capital. We also welcome the National Endowment of the Arts, and nobody can welcome us better than our own Madam Senator. You need to know that the building you're sitting in right now, her father built as governor. He loved the arts, and we love you, Madam Senator. Please welcome the Honorable United States Senator, Madam Shelley Moore Capito.
Thank you, Randall, and thanks for your powerful rendition, as I always love to hear, of our national anthem. And welcome to all of you. I understand you've been on a whirlwind. I'm glad you're here in West Virginia after 27 years. I hope not all 27 years in D.C., because a day feels like 27 years in D.C. Sometimes. It's wonderful to see my former colleague, Paul Hodes from New Hampshire. We served together in the United States Congress, and as every former member, Paul looks younger, happier, and healthier. So it's very good to see you. Marianne, thank you for your leadership, and thank all of you for coming to our beautiful state, and thank you for joining us. And it is great to be here in the Culture Center. My father, when he was governor in the 70s, had a vision of a small state governor, and I think you all probably, as advocates for the arts, know how important the arts are and to the culture and the preservation of the tradition and the lore of a small state. It really weaves you together and binds you together. And he had a vision that this was something that was very important, but as you can tell, it's pretty auspicious sort of dream that he had, and the newspaper wasn't quite sure that this money was going to be well spent or that he even had the money. My father's name was Arch Moore, so the big story about my father in this building was they were razzing him about building it and his grandiose ideas and how does he think he can get this done. And when they were constructing the building, it was constructed, and on the outside it has the items of interest to the building. And the first thing of items of interest are the archives. So he has them go out and just write ARCH and then has them stop for a week. And they go, the newspaper, I knew he was going to name this building after himself. What is he doing? And he had a good time with that. But it's certainly stood the test of time. And with Randall's leadership here, I'm just amazed at the World War I exhibit, the Senator Randolph collection through archives. We had the Librarian of Congress here 2 or 3 months ago and had a wonderful visit with her. So we're very proud of that, and very proud of the role that the arts play in our state, whether it's the visual arts, the music. Here I'm getting out of my league, but whatever kind of art it is, it still does bind us together, and it's something we're very exceedingly proud of. So I'm going to put my senator hat on here, and I want you to know, as a council, but also those who are listening, that the National Endowment for the Arts and the National Endowment for the Humanities over the last several years was under some budgetary restraints, particularly in the president's budget. And I joined with my fellow senators very early on to say that we need to fund the NEA and the NEH robustly, and have accountability, yes, and transparency, but the grants that you all grant down and to the individual states are so vitally important. They multiply the dollars throughout our communities, and they enable us to keep that weaving of our communities and all of the good things that the arts do for us. It's a preservation, and it's an enrichment, it's an education, and it's a good release for all of us here in the country. So I'm always going to be in your corner to be somebody who believes strongly in how absolutely vital the arts are to us as a culture, and as we bring along our next generation, which I see a few of our next generation here, our next generation, that we leave that great legacy to them. So I'm going to help you do that. Thank you for what you do. Thanks for coming to West Virginia. As you can see, probably over the short time that you've been here, The pride we have in our state is immeasurable. I know you've been here before because we met in the green room here at the Culture Center, Tom, but and so we're really proud to show it off. And thanks for being here and making us a part of your lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Senator. As I always say, you're the best. Now, please make welcome from Senator Manchin's office, Brian Allowies.
Good morning. My name is Brian Allowies, and I'm very happy to be here today on behalf of your United States Senator Joe Manchin III. Unfortunately, Senator Manchin had a prior obligation, was unavoidably and regretfully unable to be with us today. However, I know he very much wanted to be, because I know Senator Manchin has been and always will be a tireless, fearsome advocate for the arts. And to show a small token of his appreciation, he sent me over here with a video greeting, and I think we're going to try and play that for you at this time.
Hello, I'm Senator Joe Manchin. I'm honored to welcome each of you to West Virginia for the meeting of the 193rd National Council on the Arts. I also want to thank Randall Reed Smith for all the work that he's done for the arts community in West Virginia. Today is an opportunity to celebrate the tremendous role the arts play in our communities and showcase how we can continue to foster creativity. I invite you to take the time to share creative ideas, learn what others are doing, and to meet our key national art leaders as we highlight the wonderful programs from around our great state. It is well known that art holds a special place in our home state of West Virginia. It binds our communities together, it showcases the beauty of our state, it inspires new ideas, encourages creativity from our state's youth, and as we know in West Virginia, the arts is the window to our soul. When I was governor and with the First Lady leading the charge, we did more to support and fund the arts in West Virginia than at any other time. We worked with VH1 Save the Music Foundation and the National Endowment for the Arts to bring music education programs and funding to West Virginia. Also, when I was governor, the Save the Music Foundation committed to award music education grants to schools in every county, and the NEA invested more than $6 million in our state. Also, during my tenure, we worked diligently to promote and protect funding for the arts because we know it preserves our culture and traditions, and it inspires our children and young adults. And I continue to give my wholehearted support to the arts in the United States Senate. Someone once said, art enables us to find ourselves and lose ourselves at the same time. The arts can challenge our kids to express themselves, think outside the box, and learn in innovative ways. We know that children who are involved in school arts programs are more likely to stay in school, graduate high school, and attend college. They are also more likely to resist peer pressure and stay away from drugs and gangs. Art also helps each one of us to experience the perspectives of other people, and we need more of that in our country right now. I appreciate the special guest performers and all those who have dedicated their time and energy to making West Virginia an even better place to call home through their contributions to the arts. I hope you have enjoyed the outstanding performances from these talented individuals. I want to thank each and every one of you, and God bless you. Thank you.
For choosing West Virginia, our beloved Mountain Mama. We hope you'll come back and visit us real soon.
Thank you, Brian. And Madam Chair, please tell the Senator thank you that when he was governor, he increased our state appropriations by 57% for the arts, 31% for historic preservation development grants, and he gave us increased funding for arts education. So as you can see in West Virginia, we are very well taken care of by both of our senators. Madam Chair, I return the gavel to you.
We are going to change things up just slightly. We will get down to business in just a moment, but some of our council members got emails this morning that their flights were canceled, so we have 2 members who are going to have to leave early, and so we are going to get to the business at hand. We are going to vote, and then each of the council members wants to take a minute to let everyone here know what this trip has meant to them. And then we'll proceed on with some updates at the agency and then the performances. So, let's get down to business. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of our March council meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, great. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Now we will move to the council members' votes. I would like to invite Tony Chabot, our Deputy Chairman for Programs and Partnerships, to take us through this section of the meeting.
Thank you. We'll now proceed with the application review sections of the agenda. The tally of the votes will be announced at the end of today's session. The council will be voting by ballot today on 31 award recommendations totaling more than $3.6 million in 3 funding areas: artworks, leadership initiatives, and literature fellowships translation projects. The funding recommendations are found in the corresponding sections of your council book. Please find your ballots in the folders at your place at the table. Council members joining us via teleconference have been instructed to email their votes to Kim Jefferson in these 3 funding categories immediately at the conclusion of this part of the meeting. In order for your vote to be tallied, you must be present at the time of the motion, discussion, and vote. Council members' affiliations have been recorded in the council book and on your ballots, and each member has been provided an opportunity to update this information prior to the meeting. Before voting, council members should review the list of recommendations and rejections and add to the list provided in your folders any affiliations that are missing. Council members are recorded as not voting on applications with which they are affiliated. This list becomes part of the agency's official record. After brief summaries of the 3 funding areas, council members will have the opportunity to ask questions and/or discuss the recommendations before voting by ballot. After you have completed your ballots, staff will collect your folders and tally the votes. May I have a motion to consider the recommended grants and rejections under the artworks, leadership, and fellowship sections of the council book?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Now I'll summarize the 3 funding areas on which you will be voting. Pause for any comments or questions from council members, and then ask you to mark your ballots for each category. The artworks category is the agency's primary category for funding for the arts disciplines and encourages and supports the following 4 outcomes. Creation, the creation of art that meets the highest standards of excellence. Engagement, public engagement with diverse and excellent art. Learning, lifelong learning in the arts. And livability, the strengthening of communities through the arts. One project is recommended for $30,000. Are there any comments or questions from the council? If not, please mark your ballot. Leadership initiatives support a wide variety of projects of national and field-wide significance. At this meeting, the council is requested to approve funding for 5 projects in 5 arts disciplines, totaling more than $3.2 million. Support is requested for an arts education initiative, the Arts Education Partnership. The Mayor's Institute on City Design, a program that assists mayors with urban design challenges, promotes design excellence and economic revitalization, and enhances the livability of communities across the country. The NEA Big Read, an initiative to enhance literature's role in American culture. The NEA Jazz Masters Fellowship, events and associated activities, and the Musical Theater Songwriting Challenge for high school students, a national program that gives high school students the chance to showcase their songwriting talents and compete for opportunity to participate in a mentorship and final competition in New York City. Are there any comments or questions from the council? If not, please mark your ballots. And finally, literature fellowships, translation projects, which support translations of poetry, prose, and drama from other languages into English. This year, 25 grants totaling $325,000 are recommended. The proposed projects will support the translation of fiction, nonfiction, and poetry from 18 countries and regions around the world, with languages such as Chinese, Portuguese, French, and Polish represented, among others. Are there any comments or questions from the council? If not, please mark your ballots. Council members on the line, you may now email your votes to Kim Jefferson. There are two 20% amendments which will support aiding arts professionals to attend a major conference in their field, and one which will support our existing Our Town grant. There are also two interagency agreements in the award updates section, which will support the agency's partnership with the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis and a project with the Department of Justice that supports artist residencies in federal corrections facilities. Thank you.
Okay, so before I proceed with updates to the agency, I'd like to just go down the row as I mentioned earlier and let each council member just give a minute to tell what this trip has meant. As Randall said, this is the first council meeting that has been held outside of Washington, D.C. in 27 years. It may be longer, but we know none before 1991, so we're not sure before that, though. But again, we're honored and thrilled that West Virginia was our first choice, and there are various reasons for that, which I'll mention later, but we're thrilled to be here, and I just wanted each council member to be able to tell you personally what this trip has meant to them. So, Diane?
Thank you. First of all, just a thank you to the senators for being here. It means a lot, your presence, and the welcome, and to Randall, of course, for his amazing host with the most. This is my first time to West Virginia. We were at the governor's home, and First Lady hosted us in a most amazing way. After a very beautiful day in the surrounding area, and we went to amazing locations that were surprising. And the diversity of the artwork that we saw at the Huntington Museum, at the Clay Center, was, unexpected. And the support that your state gives to the arts and the creativity that we see, I really felt a very common bond with everyone. I felt that we were coming together oftentimes in a nation that's very, very divided, and we found a commonality, and that is creativity. And it gave me great hope. So thank you so much. This has been a lifetime experience for me and an eye-opening one, and I really thank you all for that.
Oh my goodness, you know how to do it. It has been a whirlwind. Your enthusiasm, your generosity, the thought you have put into our time here is amazing. And as Diane said, it's unforgettable. It has been truly a wonderful, 24 hours? How long have I been here?
A year.
But, you couldn't have done more for us, and we appreciate you, and we're grateful for your appreciation of us. So thank you all, and can't wait to come back.
Wow, this is so loud. Thank you so much for the wonderful day, all of yesterday. I go home inspired, excited, and with stronger belief in the strength of the arts. Thank you very much.
So, good morning. I just want to say that I am, in the best way, overwhelmed by your landscape, by your heart, and by your generosity and the hospitality that you've shared with us. This has been a beautiful trip. It is inspiring to see your town, your city, your rural areas, and to witness really the creativity of the people who live here and your openness to other perspectives and things from away. I hadn't been to this part of West Virginia, only the part that you guys call the Panhandle. That's what I was familiar with in the past, and it's been a tremendous experience to be here, and one that I'll share with friends and family back on the West Coast. So thank you.
Thanks. Senator Shelley Moore Capito, thank you so much for your kind words and for being here, and thanks to Senator Manchin for speaking with us. Your support for the arts is very important and manifest in everything we saw here in West Virginia. It's just been a tremendous pleasure and also a privilege to be with you. And I go back home to my home state of New Hampshire, which is comparable in size and in some ways comparable in landscape. But I'm going back with West Virginia envy because y'all do arts like nobody else's business, and you should be justly and are justly proud of your cultural heritage, the traditions that are beautiful, and the truly excellent. The excellence of your arts really is what came home to me. So Randall Reed Smith, you're a West Virginia treasure, but you're a national treasure too. So yes. Thank you all very much for hosting us.
Good morning. Buenos dias. I just want to say thank you to all of you for your graciousness, for your hospitality. It has been truly an honor to be here in your state, in your communities, to feel so inspired by the many artists, the many people that we met. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for that generosity. I come from Texas, and we're a big state, but I think you all have a big heart and a lot of creativity, and I will be back. Thank you.
Madam Chair, one of our quick inserts.
Okay.
Please make welcome from the Governor's Office, our Chief of Staff, Mike Hall.
Well, it's good to be here, and it's obvious that Governor Justice, and I'll give you concrete evidence in a minute, that is very supportive of the arts, and obviously you met his wife last night. I had an opportunity to serve as finance chairman in the Senate, and I think it'll be remembered that I fought for funding like for Mountain Stage and this and that and so forth. But when we reorganized government and got rid of, and actually changed one of our agencies or our secretarial positions from education and the arts, the governor absolutely would not do that unless the arts resurfaced as its own special entity, of which this guy right here, who works 36 hours in a 24-hour day, it will be leading it. So we welcome you to the state of West Virginia. We're glad you're here. I know Randall's been excited about this for a long time. He hasn't slept for 2 weeks, and he'll probably get some rest, in a few days. So welcome. I've already heard your comments on the great state of West Virginia. I had an opportunity, had to attend a meeting in the Eastern Panhandle, where I think some of you said the only place you've been, on Tuesday. So I had to take a helicopter ride from Charleston over to Ranson, which is in Jefferson County. It was an hour and 40 minutes. It's the first time. I wish everybody could do this once at 4,000 feet and see the beauty of our well-forested green mountain state. It truly is a mountain state. And to see the beauty of this place is phenomenal. So anyway, I thank you for coming here. I think you're going to continue to have your meeting and do whatever you do, but appreciate the opportunity to say a few comments for the governor. He's very supportive of what you're doing and will continue to support the arts. Thank you very much. Yeah.
And now, Madam Chair, before you give your remarks, we have a special treat for you all, our future. Our current participant in America's Got Talent, she's on to the second round. Please make welcome the sensational Sophie Fatu, and may we have a light.
More you heartbreaker. Wherever you're going, I'm going your way. To drifters off to see the world, there's such a lot of world to see. We're after the same rainbows and waiting by the bank. My huckleberry friend, moon river and me. Someday, when I'm awfully alone, when the world is cold, I will feel the glow just thinking of you. In the way you look tonight, oh, but you lovely, with your smile so warm and your cheeks so soft. There was nothing for me because I love you. In the way you look tonight, with each word your tenderness grows, tearing my fears apart. And at last, the twinkles your nose touches mine full with heart. Lovely, never change. Keep that breath strong. And won't you please arrange it, because I love you. In the way you look tonight. Just the way you look tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, the sensational Sophie Fatu, and on the piano, her mother, Victoria Fatu. Thank you. And now we do a quick change so we can get the chairman's slideshow in, and we're ready for you, okay? Victoria, take them down so Sophie can say hello to them. Go down the steps. Can somebody help me here, please?
Great.
Thank you, that was beautiful.
Sophie?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I get a high five on that? You were amazing.
Yes.
Sophie, I have a Sophie, but she's older than you. But Sophies are special.
Thank you.
And a round of applause to the mom also. You just let me know what to do, Randall.
You guys haven't done anything?
No, we're good.
You having a good time?
Very good. So far, so good.
Well, we all should go home.
I might need 12 more bottles of water. Okay. Randall, may I begin?
I think
He's gone.
He left the building?
Oh, he's there. He's coming.
Elvis.
Okay,
All right, great. Okay,
we're ready for the slideshow for her.
yes? Okay. All right, so I want to tell you about why we chose West Virginia for our National Council meeting. Over the years, there have been a number of persistent myths about the NEA. That we only fund projects in major cities, for example, or that we only fund projects that take place on the east or west coast. But the truth is, we fund projects in every congressional district in every state. We reach thousands of communities across the country every year. So while we may be headquartered in Washington, our work, our priorities, and our vision extend far, far beyond the nation's capital. One area where this is particularly evident is our partnerships. Every year, 40% of the NEA's grant-making budget is allocated to regional art organizations and state art agencies, including the West Virginia Department of Arts, Culture, and History. These organizations are among our most important partners because they understand the culture and needs of the regions and communities better than anyone. They are the boots on the ground, so to speak, and we rely on their expertise and networks to transform our investment into opportunities for all residents to participate in and benefit from the arts. And that's why we're here today, to celebrate our partnership with the West Virginia Department of Arts, Culture, and History, to see the impact of this partnership firsthand, and to invite the public to participate in all aspects of the NEA, from its grant-making projects to its decision-making process. As part of our time here, we visited a number of cultural sites in West Virginia, including the Huntington Museum of Art and the Keith Albee Theater in Huntington, as well as the Clay Center for the Arts and Sciences here in Charleston. At every stop, it's been clear the arts are thriving in West Virginia, whether it be contemporary or traditional visual art or performance. And because the arts are thriving, they're helping West Virginians thrive as well. We've heard over and over on this trip how the arts have touched lives and contributed to the economy, and how they've helped make communities across West Virginia more enjoyable and more meaningful places to call home. So again, I want to thank Randall and everyone at the West Virginia Department of Arts, Culture, and History for making this trip possible, and for giving the NEA staff and our National Council here an opportunity to gain a better appreciation for the local cultural landscape. Now I'd like to update you on events and changes that have taken place at the National Endowment for the Arts since the National Council last convened in March. One change you may have already noticed is I am not Jane Chu. Chairman Chu stepped down on June 4th, and I will be serving as acting chairman until the White House nominates a new agency head. We don't know when that will be, but for us, that doesn't matter because we continue full steam ahead, business as usual. When we met in March, Congress had just approved our fiscal year 2018 budget of $152.8 million, which represented a $3 million increase over fiscal year 2017 levels. On June 6th, the House Appropriation Committee approved a fiscal year 2019 funding bill that includes $155 million for the NEA. That represents a $2 million increase over current levels. So now we're looking at a $5 million increase in 2 years. Fiscal year 2019 begins on October 1st, 2018. This gets confusing, folks, sorry. On June 12th, the Senate Interior Appropriations Subcommittee agreed to a bill that would also fund the NEA at $155 million, the same level approved by the House Appropriation Committee. The full Senate Appropriation Committee has now approved this bill. So needless to say, we are pleased that Congress recognizes, just as the Senator said, the exceptional value and impact of the NEA, and believes, just as we do, that investing in the arts benefits all Americans. I also want to tell you about a new aspect of the NEA's involvement in the recovery efforts, especially in Puerto Rico. As you'll recall, we provided emergency funding last year to state arts agencies in areas affected by Hurricane Harvey, Maria, and Irma. This included emergency funding for the Instituto de Cultura Puerto Rico, I think is the pronunciation, or ICP, which is a state arts agency for Puerto Rico. At our last meeting, Andy Mathis discussed her work in Puerto Rico, advocating for inclusion of the arts in recovery efforts. And recently, Brian Lusher, NEA's Historic Preservation Officer, deployed for a month to be the Cultural Resources Coordinator for FEMA's Natural and Cultural Resources Sector Recovery Support Function, or NCR-RSF for short, in Puerto Rico. The NCR-RSF assessed damage to and created repair estimates for the natural and cultural resources damaged by Hurricanes Irma and Maria. Furthermore, the NCR-RSF drafted courses of action to guide the long-term repair and recovery of the vast array of natural and cultural resources that are important to Puerto Ricans and the visitors who come to the island. Numerous resources were addressed, such as damage suffered by the island's national forests, coral reefs, cultural resources, including historic buildings and districts, archaeological sites, ruins, and even museum collections. Not only does FEMA assist with the repair of damage to storm-related buildings and sites, but it also provides assistance to facilities whose collections were damaged. Similar efforts are underway for the damage to cultural and natural resources on the U.S. Virgin Islands as well. Brian's efforts in Puerto Rico focused on the numerous historic properties and districts that are eligible for listing in the National Register of Historic Places, including the historic districts of San Germain, Aguirre, and Old San Juan. Old San Juan is also a National Historic Landmark and has more than 700 structures and buildings. FEMA also assessed properties that are listed in the Puerto Rican Register of Historic Places, including several dozen sites that are administered by the ICP. One facility FEMA and Brian visited was the ICP-administered Galeria Nacional, which is located in Old San Juan. The museum is located in the restored St. Iguanas Monastery. The monastery, along with the adjoining San Jose Church, is a significant work of architecture on the island. The gallery suffered major damage during the hurricanes, including pervasive black mold and the destruction of its HVAC system. However, due to the hard work of the gallery's registrars and staff, the collections were kept safe, and they've been stored in controlled conditions despite intermittent electricity immediately after the storm. Brian and the FEMA cost estimators met with one of the gallery's registrars, Laura Quinos, who is pictured here with Brian, to survey the building's damage and to view the collections. In his time in Puerto Rico, Brian joined a revolving cadre of federal government employees, including historians, architects, conservators, curators, and engineers from federal agencies, such as the National Park Service, Natural Resources Conservation Service, Department of the Interior, Bureau of Land Management, and the Fish and Wildlife Service, as well as many dedicated FEMA reservists. We are incredibly proud of Brian's work in Puerto Rico and Andes, and we thank both of them for contributing their expertise to Puerto Rico's recovery. And I should add that after both Andy's trip and Brian's trip to Puerto Rico, the National Endowment for the Arts has been included now in many federal government disaster recovery effort groups, and that's a first for the agency, and so we're really proud of that, and really appreciate that we have other federal agencies coming to us now asking for our help instead of vice versa. Moving on, last week we announced our newest class of NEA National Heritage Fellows. This is the nation's highest honor for folk and traditional artists. This year's honorees include Palestinian embroiderer Farrell Abbasi Naim from Milwaukee, Oregon, Appalachian old-time fiddler Eddie Bond from Fries, Virginia, Anishinaabe black ash basket maker Kelly Church from Allegan, Michigan, African American quilter Marion Coleman from Castro Valley, California, rodeo tailor Manuel Cuevas from Nashville, Tennessee, Day of the Dead altar maker Ophelia Esparza from Los Angeles, California, R&B musician Barbara Lynn from Beaumont, Texas, Franco-American musicians Don and Cindy Roy from Gorham, Maine, and traditional music and dance advocate Ethel Rame from New York, New York. Ethel is this year's recipient of the 2018 Best Lomax Hawes NEA National Heritage Fellowship, which recognizes an individual who has made a significant contribution to the preservation and awareness of cultural heritage. To celebrate these men and women, we will hold an awards ceremony at the Library of Congress on Wednesday, September 26th. The NEA National Heritage Fellowship Concert will take place later that week on Friday, September 28th at 8 p.m. And I should note that West Virginia has given us 3 National Heritage Fellows through the years. Over Memorial Day weekend, we kicked off our 9th summer of Blue Star Museums, a collaboration between the Department of Defense, Blue Star families, and participating museums. This program offers free admission to active duty service members and their families at more than 2,000 museums across the country through Labor Day. I want to thank all the museums participating here in West Virginia, including the State Museum, the Huntington Museum of Art, and the Clay Center. By opening your doors to our service members, you are giving military families an opportunity to engage with their communities after permanent changes of station, and a chance to spend precious time together. You are also tangible reminders of the rich culture that our service members have dedicated their lives to protecting. In April, we also had a number of agency events take place. The first was our 2018 NEA Jazz Masters Tribute Concert, which was held at the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts in Washington, D.C. on April 16th. This year's honorees were pianist, composer, and educator Joanne Brackeen, guitarist, composer, and educator Pat Metheny, vocalist Diane Reeves, and club owner, producer, and artistic producer Todd Barkin, who was this year's recipient of the A.B. Spellman NEA Jazz Masters Fellowship for Jazz Advocacy. As usual, it was a very special evening celebrating a great American art form. There were performances by artists such as Christian McBride, Helen Sung, Angelique Kidjo, and former NEA jazz master Eddie Palmieri. To date, almost 17,000 people have watched an archive of that evening online. In addition to the concert, other events were an NPR listening party that included conversations with the newest class of the NEA Jazz Masters, and a master class led by Diane Reeves for student jazz vocalists at Howard University. On April 23rd, we held the national finals of our musical theater songwriting challenge for high school students at the Green Space in New York City. During the event, each of our 6 finalists, which included 5 individuals and 1 duo, had their songs performed by an ensemble of professional singers and musicians. This followed 2 days of intensive workshop with theater professionals who helped students transform their submitted songs into theater-ready show tunes. As 1,300 people watched the event live, David Volpini, a junior at Chippewa Valley High School in Macomb, Michigan, was named our national champion. His song, called Day Number 1, told the story of a zombie apocalypse. He received a $25,000 school scholarship, courtesy of the National Music Publishers Association Songs Foundation. Second place went to the duo of Eliza Corrington and Braxton Carr, who are a senior and a junior respectively from the Da Vinci Academy in Ogden, Utah. They received a $10,000 scholarship contributed by BMI for their song 10 Seconds to Infinity, which follows astronaut John Glenn and his wife Annie on a journey of love and space travel. Third place was awarded to Tucker Donnellan, a senior at Berkshire School in Sheffield, Massachusetts. He received a $5,000 scholarship courtesy of the Entertainment Industry Foundation for his song Caleb's Confession. The song tells the story of Pastor Caleb, whose faith is severely challenged after seeing how the opioid crisis is impacting his congregation. Each of our other finalists received a $1,000 award, and all finalists will have their song published by Samuel French, the premier licensor of plays and musicals. On April 25th, April was a very busy month for us. On April 25th, we held our national finals for Poetry Out Loud at George Washington University in Washington, D.C. South Carolina state champion Janae Claxton was named our national winner for her recitations of poems by C.K. Williams, Jonathan Swift, and Sharon Olds. A senior at First Baptist School of Charleston, Janae had been participating in Poetry Out Loud since she was a sophomore, and she was awarded a $20,000 prize. Coming in second place was senior Nicholas Amador, a senior from the Poinaho School in Hawaii, and Hope Stratman, a senior from VJ and Angela Scott Catholic High School in Nebraska, came in third place. Over 2,300 people tuned in to watch the finale on live webcast. That concludes our agency updates. Are there any questions from the council?
I was in the folk artists that received, I didn't notice there was a man named Manuel Cuevas, who I didn't realize had received the award, and I know him because he designed all of Linda Ronstadt's costumes for a big show she did about almost 20 years ago that toured nationally, and his costumes are inspired by Mexican cowboys that were also the inspiration for outfits that Roy Rogers and Hopalong Cassidy wore. So I think it's like a really interesting, he's such a great folk artist that lives in the U.S. It's inspired by both American and Mexican tradition, and I think it's a great bridge.
And you can read more about each of the nominations on our website. He also designed a lot of Dolly Parton's.
Dolly Parton, that's right.
You can see
you can see the influence. I was going to say Dolly, that's right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Anyone else? Okay, great. Thank you. I'd like to now welcome Commissioner Randall Reed Smith back to the podium to tell us more about the West Virginia Department of Arts, Culture, and History and its changing path, and to introduce some presenters and performances.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the Chief of Staff told you, we went through a wonderful transition this year. The governor was very insistent that the arts be key to what we do here in the West Virginia. I remember when the governor was here the very first day that he served as governor, he had all the agency heads in this building, in the entire state, to come here and sit in this building, and he said, anybody can have an imagination. I want to work with creative people because creative people get the work done. And I thought, we're going to be fine, buddy. And so he went about doing some incredible things in our state. This time last year, the chief can tell you we had a $500 million hole in our budget. And that is gone, and we're probably going to finish about $30 million to the plus, and with about a $14 million surplus going into the new budget. He's invested in the arts. I hear him talk constantly about the arts as in creating stronger communities, an economic driver, and enhancing education. So I thought what we would show you today is how education builds our future arts audiences. So we now have the new Department of Arts, Culture, and History. The Commissioner of the Division of Culture and History serves as the governor's curator, reports directly to him, and we fulfill his mission for the arts. Again, we're so happy that you are here. And about 9 years ago, we made a wonderful collaboration with VH1 Save the Music Foundation. And our representative from New York has come here today to talk to you about what we've done over these past 9 years. I can quickly tell you we have $35,000 worth of instruments in 85 middle schools, each school receiving $35,000 worth of free instruments. We're in all 55 counties. That's a total of $2,975,000 free instruments, 3,290 instruments, free music books, stands, everything. And they call it the West Virginia Rebuild. And we're just so excited. We're the only state that has a statewide rebuild because they do districts. Because I had them in the very southern coalfields when they came here, and they didn't know if they were going to come to West Virginia because we had music teachers. And I said, y'all need to be like a good dentist and do some prevention before you got to do a cure. And kept on talking to them, and they said, well, we'll decide on the way back. And I said, well, listen, if you tell me you're going to find West Virginia, I'll drive you back to Charleston. This was 2.5 hours away. If not, you better start walking. And got up and walked out. And they're here in West Virginia. Chee-ho. Chee-ho finally.
Good morning, everybody, and good morning, council members and the members of National Endowment for the Arts. Thank you so much for the opportunity for me to present our foundation, VH1 Save the Music Foundation, and of course, yesterday and today, just spending time with you all, traveling through just a little part of West Virginia, as I have been to 25 out of the 55 counties myself, so that was just a small portion of the rich arts that the state offers. And as a sort of an honorary member of the West Virginian, by way of Japan and Minnesota and New York, I'm very happy to be here. So if you can bring up the PowerPoint. So this is me. So quickly about ourselves, we are a not-for-profit organization that is really dedicated to bring music and music education in public schools. We really want to enable students, schools, and the communities come to the full power of being by through making music. We started out in 1997 as a public affairs initiative of VH1 Network, MTV channel, and quickly became its own 501c3 not-for-profit foundation. And since then, we have given to more than 2,000 schools in 42 states, as well as Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C., in 257 communities throughout this country. We do three things. We, of course, provide instruments, we support teachers, and we advocate for music education, which is really the sort of a three things but one thing. We really want to make sure that music education is happening in school day in public schools throughout the country. We really do believe that regardless of zip code, regardless of what kind of schools you go to, what state, what city, what district, what school, every child deserves to have a music education. So we do the instrument grant. So that means about 36 band or string or mariachi instruments to K-8 level schools. In order to receive our grants of instruments, the school has to have a certified music teacher teaching during the school day in a dedicated classroom. So nothing on the cart. Nobody's delivering the trumpets in the classroom to classroom. So, and then really empowering the teachers to do the fullest of their job so that the kids deserve the best education that they can get. We do this because we see ourselves as a part of the music education ecosystem, which is supported by so many things. Obviously, the schools and the students being the center, supported by the district leadership, principal leaderships, of course, the community's higher education that provides the music educators and arts educators, also some of the research support, data collection supports, and also the local, national, and city level, and the state level, and the national level philanthropy, and also the policy makers who support the music and arts education, and of course the community arts education members, that many of which are supported by National Endowment for the Arts. We believe that there are so many levels of entering points for the students to find their passion in their life. That could be a theater, that could be a drawing, that could be pottery making, that could be poetry, that could be dance, that could be music. And we really believe that a student that has has some passion, find their passion in their lives, can be the better student, can really survive the world and become the better citizen. So again, we said that in over 20 years, we've been in 40 states, Washington, D.C., and Puerto Rico, and West Virginia, being in the only state, as the curator Reed Smith mentioned, that we are making the statewide rebuild. And what the story that he shared is very true. We were basically threatened or highly encouraged to partner with the state of West Virginia, which we've never done before. And we chose to do this because of the commitment that state of West Virginia people had in every level, from the parents, from the community, the schools, the superintendents, to, of course, the state leadership. So it's really led by the Department of Arts, Culture, and History, as well as the First Lady's office. So when the Governor Manchin was here in the Capitol, and Mrs. Manchin really started to be her project, so she came with us to all of the school visits throughout the state of West Virginia. So as you can see, all of the little marks, we have given to 85 grants in every county in this state of West Virginia. And our initial goal was to be in every county, in which we accomplished that in 2016-17 school year. And now we have a renewed goal of being in every middle school in this state of West Virginia, which we are more than halfway done. So there are some pictures. This is the Collins Middle School. Yeah, Oak Hill in Fayette County. Sorry. There are some happy students receiving the alto saxophones. Hardy County. Sorry. This is in Wyoming County, Mullins Middle School. This is the very first time they are holding the band concert for us, and they play the Hot Cross Buns, oldie but. And this is Independence Middle School in Raleigh County, really celebrating our grant. New band uniforms they're getting with the clarinets, and we have donated. This is in the Webster County Middle School, Senior High School. The high school actually put the marching show for us, and basically the field is in the outside of the building, and they literally march the entire street in this way. Braxton County Middle School. And then you can barely see this in the bottom, but we really are doing this because, again, the commitment from the state level, which also translates in funding. So the Randall Reed Smith really leads our fundraising efforts in locally. So Clay Center, for instance, they are mentioned as the part funder, and we match the half of the cost that we spend here. And this is a Horace Mann Middle School in Kanawha County. So this actually concludes my portion of the presentation. But again, thank you so much for everybody that are involved in this, making this possible. We are really grateful that we can be here and we can be in each student's life in some way. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chiho. Just a real quick story as they changed the stage, because we have singers coming for you. The one school with Independence High School, the school superintendent was there, and I said, oh, come on, Dr. Brown, go brag on the arts. And so they had an undefeated football team that year, and that's all he wanted to talk about was football. And I said, Dr. Brown, with all due respect, God only made football so we could have a halftime show. So we are changing the culture, too. So now what we're doing is we wanted to show you the kids, because those are the future audiences. When we started here, we held a meeting of all of our top arts organizations. What can we do to help? We wanted to create a new language to fundraise, to increase our appropriations from the legislature. What came out of that meeting was, Commissioner, you need to help us create future audiences. So we were able to restart funding schools to create programs for these students, because in West Virginia, what a student does, mom and dad does, mama and papa does, Uncle Randy does. And we build our audiences by those groups. So how are we doing backstage, y'all? Okay, please make welcome from Capitol High School right up the hill, the national award-winning members of the VIPs under the direction of my dear friend, Kathleen G. Corbett. Madam Director. Thank you, Kathleen G. Okay. There have been many, 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 many great people in this country, but one of the greatest came from West Virginia. Born in Clarksburg, a wildcatter named Michael Benedum. Great in the oil and gas business and wanted to leave a legacy. Created the Benedum Foundation, funding all of West Virginia and parts of Pennsylvania, the Southwest region. One of the great things about getting to work is meeting people like Jim DeNova, who helps us immensely in the state of West Virginia with many projects, but especially for the arts. As you do, I never knew how to be an administrator. I'm learning as I go, fall forward to success, but it's great to have mentors like Mr. DeNova, and he is here to join us today from the Benedum Foundation, Dr. Jim DeNova.
I thought Randall had better judgment than to name me as a mentor, so there's some work to be done there.
Well, we'll do it together.
Okay. So, Bill McCracken is here. It's an arts council, and as I've discovered, the oldest arts council in the nation. Do your homework, see if that's true. We need validation of that. But it's a perfect example of how regional programs can grow across regions regardless of geopolitical boundaries, and I applaud that partnership between these two individuals. So let me just mention how this program operates. I'd like to give you a few examples, and we're going to see a video that really does much better than my dry description. But as many of you know, artist residencies too often are sort of drive-by phenomena where artists will go in, show their work, and leave, and business goes back to normal. In this particular residency model, artists are teamed with teacher teams, as I mentioned. Almost always fine arts teacher, social studies, and one science teacher, to help create a project that the students actually vision and implement. And I have seen some remarkable changes in school structure and school design. Because for us, we're always looking at how to innovate in public education, which always appears impermeable to sort of changes in policy. But I've watched some remarkably creative people do workarounds that really don't really have to be addressed at the policy level. So for example, to see an artist and 3 teachers knock out class schedules to create studio time, and to watch a group of students from middle school and high school working on a community project with 3 or 4 teachers, all of the work being embedded into their curricular objectives. We have a Japanese mural artist who does a whole section on the meaning of art in Japanese culture, the interpretation of Japanese art. And with a science teacher, makes paint in traditional Japanese fashion from imported materials. So these students, and then they have to create a public art project that is their invention. So they've crossed disciplines and covered STEM in a stealth-like fashion, because we all think, I believe STEM is just a means to an end, but to learn science in order to create a public mural is a terrific way to absorb what's needed without saying this is just something I need for the test. But we've seen these kind of public demonstration using musicians, dancers, painters, ceramicists, and it's all student art. It's all identified with the student as the student team in the school as really the producers. And obviously the simplest approach are sort of the visual arts, where we've seen mosaics and we've seen mural arts going up in communities. But to have a team of elementary students work with a jazz musician, a veteran jazz musician, for a full year in order to produce a CD and do a concert at a public event is the capstone product. So it really crosses art forms, and it crosses disciplines, from social studies to fine arts to science, as I've said. So what I'd like to do is just show a quick video that highlights some of these projects and shows what the students are creating in their own schools. And this is a program that's in many ways grassroots, and we're rolling it out from one community to the next just by pairing teachers and artists. And let's see a few examples. The learning objectives.
Okay, here we go. Wonderful work. Looking beautiful.
So, just let me make 2 points and then I'll get out of the way. You saw that one slide. For those in West Virginia know Wetzel County, and Michael McCowan is a installation artist. And there were 2 groups of students in that high school. This is a very rural high school. 2 groups of students. One made an installation art piece that's fully immersive for the public to go through. In the process of the year-long residency, one of the students passed away, and they incorporated her story into the work. Sorry. So another team of students was assigned a film production project to actually document the learning process of installation art. So you literally had two art forms, filmmaking, installation art, broader body of students to actually have to articulate to the adults what that learning process really was. Now, that particular exhibition was accepted for presentation at the Contemporary American Theater Festival next month in Shepherdstown. It's a national festival. And the students will be panel presenters to other high school students, because the Theater Festival has a high school immersion program that tries to have students teaching students. So we are very proud of the fact that they're going to be actually presenting at that festival. So the last note I want to make on the more dry and bureaucratic approach is you saw a list of supporters up there. This is an incredibly inexpensive program, because one of the things that's happened is a foundation like ours may fund a teaching artist. Schools come up with supply material. Corporations approached us, approached Ogilvy, approached the Fayette County Cultural Trust to say, we want to sponsor this work. So there have been successive investors because it shows a corporate interest in the community and in students. And I have to tell you, the civic engagement of having these middle and high school students presenting their work to the community and being the signatures on a piece of public art has really transformed their leadership, self-confidence, and commitment to the community. So it's one of my favorite projects. Thank you for allowing me to share it with you.
Thank you, Mr. DeNova. I just want to mention one of the great programs we do with Benedum is we do STEAM-powered grants, adding arts to science, technology, engineering, math. And we're currently now working on a $175,000 grant that we put small grants in schools, arts organizations to show how arts powers everything. Like when I talk to educators, I always say there's only one true academic, and that's the arts. Everything else like math, science, English, history, those are purely electives. It's all about the arts. And now, just want you to realize, Madam Chair, we're back on time.
Yeah.
And we are very, very, very pleased to present to you all one of our favorite programs that is the National Endowment of the Arts, and that's Poetry Out Loud. What Poetry Out Loud has done for our state is amazing. Our coordinator is Jim Wolf, who also does all of our arts education. This year he had 48 high schools participate, which we have about 100, maybe 110 high schools, but he had over 4,800 students participate, and nobody puts on a final show like West Virginia. You all should come sometime. So now, open those curtains and show this beautiful, gorgeous, gorgeous West Virginian. Here we go. This is our 2015 and 2016 winner from Greenbrier East High School. Now she's a student at Marshall University. She made top 10, and I got to be there, and she was somebody else may be a 1, but she is the Poetry Out Loud champion for the universe. And amazing. Please welcome Miss Neely Sings. Neely, take it away, babe.
So this poem is called Degrees of Gray in Phillipsburg by Richard Hugo. You might come here Sunday on a whim. Say your life broke down. The last good kiss you had was years ago. You walk these streets laid out by the insane, past hotels that didn't last, bars that did, the tortured try of local drivers to accelerate their lives. Only churches are kept up. The jail turned 70 this year. The only prisoner is always in, not knowing what he's done. The principle supporting business now is rage. Hatred of the various grays the mountain sends. Hatred of the mill, the silver bill repeal, the best-liked girls who leave each year for Butte. One good restaurant and bars can't wipe the boredom out. The 1907 boom. 8 going silver mines, a dance floor built on springs. All memory resolves itself in grays, in panoramic green, you know the cattle eat, or 2 stacks high above the town, 2 dead kilns, the huge mill in collapse for 50 years that won't fall finally down. Isn't this your life? That ancient kiss still burning out your eyes? Isn't this defeat so accurate? It simply seems the church bells are a pure announcement. Ring and no one comes. Don't empty houses ring? Are magnesium and scorn sufficient to support a town? Not just Phillipsburg, but towns of towering blondes, good jazz, and booze the world will never let you have until the town you came from dies inside? Say no to yourself. The old man, 20 when the jail was built, still laughs although his lips collapse. Someday soon, he says, I'll go to sleep and not wake up. You tell him no. You're talking to yourself. The car that brought you here still runs, and the money you buy lunch with, no matter where it's mined, is silver. And the girl who serves your food is slender, and her red hair lights the wall. Thank you.
We're running a little ahead of schedule, and I thought maybe you all might have some questions about how this program benefits the students that participated in it. Madam Chair, open it up to these wonderful council members who've been so shy and demure today.
There's a lot to absorb. So, does anyone have any questions?
Sure. What motivated you to get up on stage and read poetry, and why choose poetry over, say, other forms of expression?
Well, I heard about Poetry Out Loud my sophomore year of high school, and I think I wanted to do it because I'm a theater performance major now, so the idea of being on stage is always romantic and fun, and I like it, and so I was like, oh, poetry, that's deep, I can do it. But then the farther I got into it, the more I realized that Poetry Out Loud comes at a time in young people's lives where they're starting to form their opinions and see the world in a different view, but they don't always have the right words for it. And I think that poetry so accurately describes where people are in a very personal way, but in a way that transcends everything. That poem that I just did was written about a town in Montana, but I can see the coal towns of West Virginia in it whenever I do it. So I think that poetry, because with all the stigma that goes behind it, being able to make it approachable and show people that it can help you see the world better is very important. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Anybody else?
Can't top that.
Yeah.
Neely. Thank you for making us all very proud. You know we love you. Anytime you need anything, you let us know, okay?
Okay.
All right. How are you doing in school?
I'm doing really well.
Okay. Because when you were starting talking about the booze and all that stuff and the jazz, I thought, not our sweet Neely. Okay, honey. If you need anything, let us know, okay?
Okay,
Thank you. We're great to see you again.
So, as I mentioned previously, two of our council members got phone calls that their flight was canceled and they were put on an earlier flight. So I actually think now might be a good time.
A good transition.
We need to get them to the airport on time.
Thank you.
And
Thank you. Just thank you so much, Randall, for hosting us. It's been really, as I mentioned earlier, great. And, you know, there's so much innovation here, and I know that the state has gone through a real shift in the economy, and the industry has faltered. And I just, you know, I'm inspired that perhaps there are creative ways of innovating industry here, because you've got all of the groundwork laid, and it would be interesting to see how you can make a new industry and create new industry for the state. So.
Well, you know, you always hear people talk about the creative economy,
Yes.
the cultural economy. I think West Virginia is a great example of what good is occurring in the arts world across the country. When we have an arts advocacy conference, and I told them this year, when anybody asks you to do anything that helps the state, never say no.
Yeah.
We can never say no. And they just keep at it. They're going to hear from 4 of our arts organizations, and I know that they do things on a shoestring budget, and we get out there and we work and work and work to help find opportunities, because it's not always about funding.
No.
It's about bringing people together, collaboration.
So true.
And I've been here 12 years. We skyrocketed with wonderful surpluses. Then we had challenges. And then now we're going back up to the top. But the thing is, thank God for a Mary Kay mother. You got to stay positive.
Yes.
And you always can do it.
Mm-hmm.
So
congratulations.
Thank you, honey. It's been
Okay.
great having you here.
Yeah, thank you. I've loved it. It's been
Okay.
Thank you. Also, Randall, I just want to say thank you again for everything. When you were in Washington, D.C., and you spoke about West Virginia, it created a beautiful mental picture, and I'm glad that I was here and be able to take West Virginia and all the people here in my heart, and I will be back, and I love what you do. Thank you so much for your hospitality.
Thank you. So, vaya con Dios.
Gracias.
De nada. Safe travels. De nada. Okay, mes enfants, we are moving forward with a little potpourri of arts organizations in our state who could not do what they do without each of you. And that's what we've tried to show you. And we're going to start off first. Let me get my paper here, even though I don't have my glasses. Joe Tackett, president of the West Virginia Symphony, of which he's either one of the smartest or most challenged administrators because he has me on his board. So, Joe, please come and talk about the West Virginia Symphony Orchestra, our statewide orchestra. Joe.
Thank you, Randall. Always, I don't know what to expect. My name is Joe Tackett. I'm honored to serve as the president of the West Virginia Symphony Orchestra, and I brought along my bass today. I'm not a musician in the orchestra. You'll hear why in a second. But with the National Endowment for the Arts annual grants that we get, we really are able to tour statewide, and it's a good thing because if we didn't have that NEA money, it would just be one of us going out there. And so I thought I would bring along my bass and demonstrate what it would sound like if we did Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, a crowd favorite, just with one player. So here we go, Beethoven's Fifth. Well, you get the point anyway. The operatic composer Rossini said once that talking about music was like making love by mail, and so I wanted to demonstrate. But we get annual money through the granting process from the NEA, and it allows us to not only play here in Charleston, but tour statewide. We are the largest employer of artists in the state. We have over 70 musicians in our payroll, and they come not only from the state of West Virginia, but the surrounding region as well. We play over 40 concerts a year. Oh, thanks. Wow. Okay. Do you know how to? Yep. Okay. It's always scary when they take the instrument away from you. I guess I'm done. Okay. We play over 40 concerts a year, and some of them are here at our home in Charleston, but we also have satellite locations in Parkersburg, Morgantown, Lewisburg, and through funding from you guys, and of course help from the state as well, we really are a statewide institution. In fact, I've been in a discussion with some of my counterparts in other states, and we've decided the West Virginia Symphony Orchestra actually has the largest geographical footprint of any orchestra in the country. So we're proud of that state and all the people that we service. And we also have smaller ensembles, as you witnessed yesterday, that go out into different school systems and play for smaller communities as well. And we really thank the NEA for all of its support, especially allowing us to go out into the rural regions of West Virginia. So thank you so much.
Getting my steps in. Oh, honey, you want your music? Okay. Oh my goodness. You all got to experience them last night with all the Broadway potpourri. But the Greenbrier Valley Theater, I just don't know how to describe it. It's indescribable. They are amazing. My dear friend, Kathy Sawyer, who's going to talk to you. Kathy, come up here, honey. My first day I walked into my office as commissioner, I don't know how she did it, but there was a card congratulating me. They just announced it that day. I don't know. You must know somebody. But Kathy is the director down there. She has the official state theater, repertory theater of West Virginia, and it's the only equity theater. But what people need to realize, other than that she sells out all the time, she has a school of about 200 kids in that area that are just amazing. So please welcome from the Greenbrier Valley Theater, my dear friend, Kathy Sawyer. Hey, honey, come on.
Hi, welcome everybody, all of our friends from the National Council on the Arts and the National Endowment for the Arts. I'm a little nervous because he said 7 minutes or he'll kill me, so you all know how he is about time. Greenbrier Valley Theater produces a year-round schedule of comedies, dramas, and musicals. Under a contract with Actors Equity Association, we are the only year-round equity theater. There are other equity theaters in the state, one of whom you'll hear from in a few minutes. Our education programs for youth include an after-school program for children, a summer camp, a conservatory, a peanut butter and jelly dinner theater, just lots of fun things for kids. We also present the Metropolitan Opera Live in HD series, and we have a following for that opera program, and along with it, we have a speaker on each opera, so it's an educational opportunity as well. We house various music events, performers, cabarets, literary readings, lots of community forums and town halls and things are housed in our building, and we are home to the West Virginia Jazz Orchestra. He said to tell you that's what we do. That's a lot of what we do, but I have a lot to say about who we are and how you all have helped make us that. In a recent TED Talk that was entitled, "Why Theater is Essential to Democracy," Oscar Eustace, the artistic director of the Public Theater, outlined a plan to reach people in places across the United States where theater has all but disappeared. Eustace said, "Our job is to try to hold up a vision to America that shows not only who all of us are individually, but that welds us back into the commonality that we need to be. That's what theater is supposed to do." Theater is for everyone, and we need to reach everyone. West Virginia and Appalachia deserve theater as well. Our region is rich in a unique culture and heritage. Our mountains have stories to tell, traditions to honor, and lessons to learn. But how do we protect our history and still move forward? Theater can help us bridge the divide between where we've been and where we're going, and it can help us find that commonality he was talking about, but it has to be available. The NEA stated purpose that it funds, promotes, and strengthens the creative capacity of our communities by providing all Americans with diverse opportunities for arts participation has helped us make theater available to our region and to many people who have never experienced live theater before. The NEA has supported our efforts to bring children into the theater to see professional productions and engage in activities that enhance that experience. And maybe we open some eyes and some hearts. Plays like The Diary of Anne Frank, Remember the Wedding, and To Kill a Mockingbird bring deeper understanding and open dialogue on issues such as racism and prejudice by humanizing those plays' very important themes. Arthur Miller's The Crucible opened doors to understanding mass hysteria and to how important facts are to our society. We performed all of the major works of Williams and Miller, exposing our audience to some of the greatest work in the American canon. 16 years ago, when we produced A Glass Menagerie, you supported our efforts to highlight the lyrical nature of that play by commissioning original jazz music and partnering with the West Virginia Dance Company to present a dance interpretation of our production of the play. It was a wonderful, wonderful project. You've been there to champion our efforts to bring classical plays to our general audiences and our student audiences. Productions of Hamlet, Macbeth, Romeo and Juliet have graced our stage and brought timeless themes and stories to our audiences and to many people who had never seen Shakespeare performed live. The relevance of Anton Chekhov's The Cherry Orchard was not lost on a community fighting eminent domain as a pipeline threatens their land. After a chemical leak devastated river water around Charleston, Ibsen's An Enemy of the People spoke loudly to the hearts of people who care about our natural resources. And in the midst of our own state's crisis with addiction, Eugene O'Neill's Long Day's Journey into Night reminded us of the very human hurt and fear and compassion that a family faces in dealing with addiction. You've helped us chronicle our local history. Your commission funded the story of a local Civil War hero who was hung for protecting his home and family from a renegade soldier. He became known as the Greenbrier Martyr. You commissioned stories of the mountain railroads, which told of the difficulties faced in building railroads in Appalachia through personal stories, traditional songs, and legends. We've premiered a musical version of a famous ghost story set in our valley that still holds our box office records. The Greenbrier Ghost is the only known case in legal history where a man was convicted of murder based partly on the testimony of a ghost. Most of all, you've helped us grow by giving us confidence in our work. You've brought us attention and respectability both locally and nationally. That, in turn, has brought us more financial support and wonderfully talented artists. And even more than that, the National Endowment for the Arts, I get choked up, excuse me, has given us courage. Courage to produce classics and new plays and to bring to our area literature they could never experience and worlds they could never know. In the TED Talk I mentioned earlier, I was particularly struck by the point Mr. Eustace made that what takes theater beyond storytelling is dialogue, and that through dialogue we expose different points of view. And if we can imagine another person's point of view, we are practicing empathy. We need dialogue to be more compassionate, more accepting, and more inclusive. So we need live theater more than ever. And I am thankful for the National Endowment for the Arts and for what you have done for Greenbrier Valley Theater and the state of West Virginia. Thank you.
If you have any questions, we're running just a little ahead. Anybody? Okay, thank you, Kathy. So, Madam Chair, if we were playing poker against all the other states, I have my congressman here, so I've just had a royal flush these past 2 days. So to the rest of the states and territories, I challenge you.
They fold.
Beat that. Okay. Honey, let me make welcome my congressman from my home area. He's from Huntington. I'm from Barbersville, and they're right next door. But I've known Evan Jenkins 20 years. Never has he ever said no to the arts or anything I've asked him to do. He sits on the Appropriations Committee for the House of Representatives. More importantly, he sits on the subcommittee that helps to fund and sustain the National Endowment for the Arts. So I'm sure you all will be more than happy to say thank you to him, but make welcome the Honorable Evan Jenkins, Congressman, West Virginia, 3rd District.
Well, good morning. Thank you, Randall, and welcome. I tell you, I was very moved by my predecessor. She's terrific. The Greenbrier Valley Theater, Lewisburg, Southern West Virginia, 3rd Congressional District, they just don't come any better. So God bless you. Thank you. Amen. Thank you so much. Randall didn't give me quite the 7-minute timeline, but I will try to certainly be brief. This is really special. It's special on so many different levels. Randall is right. We have known each other for almost 20 years. We are from Cabell County, and we are prideful of our state. Randall has gone off and sung in the venues around the world. But he had this special love for West Virginia. And where we got to know each other 20 years ago is when he came home. And he says, let me tell you why I'm back. I love this state. This state gave me every opportunity. I have seen the world, but I know we've got the best right here, and I'm going to dedicate my talents and my passion. And he has done that in so many ways. As I'm sure you've been there, literally probably, 30 feet below where we are, Randall single-handedly transformed what is now our state museum. It is a treasure for our state, demonstrating its history. And over these 20 years, the love and passion that he has shown for this state is incredible. But it is about who we are. Thank you for coming to Huntington yesterday. I was born in Huntington in 1960, and you were there at the Keith Albee yesterday, and you probably are very familiar with my rich arts background as a very accomplished actor, because probably right about the year that the NEA was formed in 1965 as a 5 or 6-year-old, you probably remember it, I was in the theatrical performance, The Music Man. Do you remember my line? Now, that's singular line. I was on that stage at the Keith Albee, the kid that ran out and said, he's coming. I practiced the line for weeks. My mother was very nervous.
She still is.
I'll tell you who's nervous. I was with my mother 2 weeks ago. She is celebrating her 90th birthday. She lives in Florida, and she broke the news to us that just the previous week she had got her driver's license renewed, and she was happy to say, for 6 years. Well, thank you for going to Huntington. I grew up going to the Museum of Art, and your experience yesterday with, I guess, youth working with clay, I did that. Now, the NEA has come a long way. I can't say so much for myself in 50-plus years. But as a member of the House Appropriations Committee, Randall is right. We are there to do all that we can. And as you well know, we have had some pretty tough fiscal times, both at the state and federal level. And as you know, in the 2018 Omni, we bumped up the NEA funding several $1 million to $152.8 million. And as you, I know, are well aware that in the mark that we have already approved in the subcommittee, out of the full Appropriations Committee on the floor of the House, $155 million. So another $2 million on top of the additional $3 million that you very appropriately received this year. You have our commitment. You have our passion. You have our firm belief in what you do. And so for the council and the grant-making advisory role that the council plays to the NEA, thank you for coming to West Virginia. I understand you don't get out of the office very often. What is this, 20 years, first time out? 27 years. So thanks for what you do. We are proud West Virginians. And talking about YouTube and TED Talks, I was watching Randall's TED Talk on the NEA website just the other day, talking about the indigenous arts and music of this country, so many of which come right here from the Mountain State and the hills of what is now West Virginia. Thanks for being here. Thanks for all you do, and God bless you.
Okay, thank you, Congressman. You did well. Your mom would be proud. Well, do you want to hear about my first performance at 4? My mother, you know, she knew I had talent. So at the Mud River Baptist Church, put me up on the stage, and she said, "Now, Randy, you got to memorize it. Don't mess up." Walked out to the pulpit, put my hands on my hips, and I said, "Don't worry, peoples. I knows it," and went from there. So it was an omen. Evan, thank you so much. Thank you for everything you do. We love and appreciate you so much. Thank you. Madam Chair, moving forward, we have hit all corners of the state, and someone was talking about the Panhandle. Well, we have two. So we go to our panhandles now. Now from the Eastern Panhandle, very close to Washington, D.C., we in Shepherdstown have the home of the Contemporary American Theater Festival, unlike anywhere, and so many plays premiere and debut there that go on to get Tony Awards on and off Broadway. And we have with us the Contemporary American Theater Festival. And who all do we have coming up here, Miss Vicki Willman? I know Peggy, but Vicki, well, here's the reason we have Peggy here. She is our Artist of the Year for the Governor's Award. Peggy McCown, Miss Vicki Willman. Come on up, girls. Honey, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good to see you, too. This is the National Council of the Arts and the NEA.
Very lovely to meet you all.
And they just got a grant from you all, and we're very grateful.
Yes, we are. So the Contemporary American Theater Festival is dedicated to producing and developing new American plays. And so we do plays that people have never heard of, and we still get them to come to the theater. It's pretty exciting. And we hope that the theater that we produce has a life after CATF, and so we are forever indebted to you for helping us deliver that message, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But we have been producing new work for 28 seasons. We are considered one of the top 3 preeminent new play festivals in the country by American Theater Magazine. And the New York Times refers to us as one of the top 15 summer festivals in the country repeatedly every year. And so I wanted to take a minute to introduce you to some of the artists that are working with us this summer. And so if we could just show a short portion of this video, that would be great.
I'm Jesse Drykosen. I'm the scenic designer for the shows in the Maranoff Theater this season.
My name is Angelica Sherry, and I am the playwright of Berta Berta.
I'm Amy E. Whitting, and I am the playwright of The House on the Hill.
This is D.W. Gregory. I am the playwright for Memoirs of a Forgotten Man.
I'm Reginald L. Douglas, and I am the director of Berta Berta by Angelica Sherry.
This is David Barber coming to you from my studio in Brooklyn, where I'm finishing up the prep work for the scene designs for Memoirs of a Forgotten Man and The Cake.
I'm Sam Weissman, director of A Late Morning in America with Ronald Reagan.
I'm Courtney Sale, and I'm directing The Cake.
I'm so excited to be a part of CATF. I'm so excited that I even bought this hat that says West Virginia, because my play actually takes place in a small town in West Virginia, in a house that happens to be on a hill. And so a couple weeks ago I did a dramaturgical road trip through the town, and I got to see a lot of the state, which is really exciting, and I can't wait to start.
When I was young, the sun was shining bright as ever.
I'm so excited to be back designing for CATF this summer. It will be my first time designing within the Maranoff Theater. All my other previous designs at CATF have been in the smaller studio space, so I'm thrilled to be exploring these two wonderfully different worlds in a new space. Speaking of those two worlds, what you will see very soon is how we transform the Maranoff from a story-packed house on the hill to a post-apocalyptic clearing in the woods. It's been a blast so far designing the scenery for these two shows, and I cannot wait to continue the process with everyone there in West Virginia.
Thank you, and if you could switch over to the PowerPoint, that would be great. So we wanted you to meet those artists in particularly because this season the NEA has helped fund that play, The House on the Hill, and have helped support that artist, Amy Whitting, the young woman with the baseball cap, who is producing one of her first plays ever here in West Virginia. So we're really excited about that play. And so now what we wanted to talk about a little bit, do we have the PowerPoint? Yeah, there we go. We wanted to talk a little bit about how this support has sort of manifested itself over the years in numbers, if you will. And so one of the exciting things is that over the years, the NEA has supported, if you can go to the next slide, sort of working. Try it again, hit it again. Well, if you were to see this slide what we would demonstrate to you is that the NEA has helped fund 16 world premieres and 1 East Coast premiere over the years. And to tell you a little bit about what those plays have done throughout time, the very first one, which is The Complete Female Stage Beauty, was performed at CATF, went to City Theater in Pittsburgh, and then was purchased by Robert De Niro's film company and made into the movie Stage Beauty with Billy Crudup and Claire Danes. So that's one exciting ripple effect of the support that you offer us here in West Virginia. Another one was the East Coast premiere of Stick Fly by Lydia Diamond. We produced the East Coast premiere of that. It went to Arena Stage in Washington, D.C., and then it went on to Broadway in New York. So we're really proud of Stick Fly and Lydia Diamond. But all of these plays have had a life beyond CATF, except one of them, and that would be House on the Hill, and it is opening next weekend. So we hope that after it opens, it certainly will have a life after us, and will indeed keep our record with the NEA sort of batting 1,000. If you move forward. The other thing that we wanted to talk a little bit about is how this has all happened over the years. So the very first grant that we received from you was an $80,000 technology grant that helped us buy new ticketing software. And those of you that run events that have to deal with patrons buying tickets, you know how important that is to have something that works well. So that was one of the first grants that we received. Over the years, we've received $230,000 in support from the NEA, and later you're going to see how that has impacted us and other theaters across the country. Last year, we had a record-breaking season, and we sold over 16,000 tickets. And we've employed over 1,800 artists. And in 2009, we were able to do an economic impact that demonstrated that CATF in the Eastern Panhandle region, because of its tourist destination experience, impacted our economy in the range of about $3 million. Go ahead. You can move forward, Vicki. There you go. And so that shows you a little bit about how your investment in CATF has helped us grow. But in addition to that, there is a continuing impact of this investment and support of the arts at CATF. As we have said, these plays have gone on to other theaters. So the cultural experience that we have here ripples throughout the country. Some of these plays have gone on to be produced in 4, 5, 6 different theaters across the country. And so it's very exciting to see that effect. It also shows you how someone like Amy Whitting, a young emerging playwright, receives future royalties on her play. And in this case, we have roughed out an estimate about $80,000 for these playwrights moving forward into other theaters. Go ahead. Now, I just want you to know that we're in tech right now for 6 shows all at the same time. So we couldn't do as much in terms of statistics on this as we wanted to, but this is sort of a soft seed thought for you that if all 16 plays had just 10 performances of just 100 patrons based on the American for the Arts average, that would garner another $500,000 of economic impact in those communities. So you can see the investment here as it ripples throughout communities in the country. And so it's pretty easy to start to think about the relationship in the numbers, and we just wanted to share that with you because it's a little different perspective. But obviously, we all know in this room that what's really important about the work that you do is the ability for us to make art, for us to be able to tell our stories and tell stories that are immediate, powerful, bold, and about the world that we live in today. And so on behalf of all the artists that work at CATF, and certainly my colleagues here, and by the way, Dr. Nova and Carb, we're so excited to do that project with you. We look forward to that. Yeah, it's gonna be great. So on behalf of all of these artists, we thank you for your support. We're so excited that you heard the voices and stories of these people and that you helped us share that across the nation. So thank you.
Okie dokie, from one panhandle to the other, please welcome from the Ogilvy Institute, which is, what I love about Danielle, and Danielle, I mean this in a good way, she's like me. She is a comprehensive person. She takes care of like 5 things. And she's one of the few people that understands that. So she understands my 473 personalities, of which only 2 are nice. Danielle McCracken.
Good morning, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today to talk with you about Ogilvy Institute, but also to thank you so very much for the support of the National Endowment for the Arts that provides critical operating support to Ogilvy Institute every year in conjunction with the Division of Culture and History in the state so that we can provide more than 80,000 people access to our programs in the arts, visual arts, performing arts, history, and nature. As Randall said, Ogilvy Institute is kind of a complex organization. Within Ogilvy Institute, we actually have 5 different disciplines. But we have a slideshow up here. I'm not going to actually walk through slide by slide, but if we can go ahead and turn it on, and you can see some of the images. Here's an image here of when we were founded back in 1930. We kind of have a unique story. Earl W. Ogleby, who is a wealthy iron ore industrialist, donated his summer estate to the city of Wheeling back in 1928. And while there were a lot of wonderful recreational activities available at the park, Earl Ogleby's nephew, Crispin, as well as a group of community activists, came together and said, we need to have and offer cultural arts and nature experiences at the park in order for it to thrive, and in the city of Wheeling. So 2 years later, Ogleby Institute was established as an independent nonprofit organization. The park still operates as a city park, and again, we're an independent nonprofit organization. So in the early beginnings, we operated, and still to this day operate, 3 facilities at Ogleby Park. The Ogleby Mansion, if you want to just go ahead, there's the Ogleby Institute Mansion Museum. That is a accredited decorative arts museum. It features the history of the Ogleby family, as well as we have 13 period rooms dating from 1740 through 1926, and it also tells about the history of Wheeling. The next slide is also at the park. It is the Glass Museum. The glass industry played a significant role in Wheeling's history, and here at the Glass Museum you can see 3,500 different pieces of glass and china that was made in West Virginia, as well as the Sweeney Punch Bowl, which is the largest example of cut glass in the world. We also have live glass blower, workshops, and other programs that we offer there. We also have the Schrader Environmental Education Center located at the park. That provides hands-on programs where kids, adults, families come together to learn about science and nature. We do many different things. We have trails behind the building, and we do birding workshops and many different other things. We also have a gift shop called the Samara Shop, where we feature local or state-made nature-based products by area artists. This is Mountain Nature Camp, which operates in the summer months in Terra Alta, West Virginia. It's part of the Schrader Center programming. The Towngate Theater and Cinema is the space. It's actually was built as a church in 1850, and we have operated it as a theater and cinema since the 1970s. So we have a regular schedule of plays. We have poetry and prose readings. We have independent films. We have art-based films, a variety of classes throughout the year, music performances, as well as a changing art gallery in the downstairs space. The next slide is the Stifel Fine Arts Center. It was formerly the Stifel Mansion, and at the Stifel Center, that's the home of our visual arts primarily, where we have art exhibitions, we have studio space for artists, artist markets, hundreds of visual arts classes, but we also have a jazz series, a bluegrass series, and wine and beer tastings there as well. Behind the Stifel Fine Arts Center, which was actually the garage that was renovated into a dance studios, is our School of Dance, and we offer a broad range of classes there for varying ages and levels of abilities, including ballet, tap, jazz, hip-hop, belly dance, ballroom fitness, and much, much more. Each year, Ogleby Institute, you can go ahead and kind of cycle through. Here's some examples of our resources. Okay. Now we're to the school program. So each year, Ogleby Institute serves 25,000 students every year through our school-based programs, as well as field trips to our various facilities. We offer a fall youth theater tour through our Towngate Theater. We enjoy many partnerships with colleges and universities, as well as nonprofit organizations that serve at-risk children and individuals with disabilities. Thanks to the generous support, as you heard about earlier, from the Benedum Foundation, we've been able to even reach further into the communities that we serve through the Rural Arts Collaborative and through Midnight Radio Junior, which is also a program that was piloted in Western PA, where 6th grade students at a local public school learn history by creating scripts and Foley and do a performance at the end of the year of a radio program, which has been very excited and very well received, and we're talking now about continuing that at that school and hopefully other schools in the Northern Panhandle. Here's some images here of the Midnight Radio Junior, and as Jim had mentioned, a lot of people, funders have come on board. EQT has provided some matching support for the Rural Arts Collaborative. The Mid-Atlantic Arts Foundation is also on board to support some expansion of that this year as well. And here's a photograph. We do professional workshops for teachers as well. So here's an example of us providing a STEAM professional development workshop that actually was also provided or supported through the STEAM initiative that the state, Randall was talking about, in collaboration with the Benedum Foundation. So I could go on for a very long time, but I know in the interest of time, I will go ahead and close. But in closing, again, thank you so very much for all that you do for Ogilvy Institute and for the state of West Virginia. It's so exciting to work with Ogilvy Institute as we develop the creative thinkers and the innovation and help our residents enjoy a wonderful quality of life. We give people a reason to stay here. We give businesses a reason to come and locate here, and we also give people a reason to visit. So we are grateful for all that you do, and we hope you have enjoyed your time in West Virginia. And please come and see us if you're in the Northern Panhandle. I'd love to show you around. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, everybody. Now we come to the time where we get to wish you well. I hope you have great continued success, as what you do is extremely important to our country, to our children. I hope the one thing you take with you from West Virginia is we're just a big family. We work together. You've met some of our friends here, and you are our family now and our friends. And we're going to end this before we go to lunch with my best friend. I've known for years, I'm not going to say how long, but he is the band director at Cabell Midland High School, which is, without question, the best band in the universe. And I get to train their majorettes. Kids are great. I always say they're my therapy. I've got 12 girls this year that are amazing. They just come with 24 parents. But they work hard. I'm very happy that we all support each other. Could we turn the house lights on real quick, please? Oh, this here? Yeah, like theater house lights. I've got to introduce some people real quick before they leave. Pam Bro is here from the National Assembly State Arts Agency. Pam, stand up. We have from Cabell County, the principal of Cabell Midland High School. He is a big athlete. You will need to know that he is the coach of Patrick Patterson and O.J. Mayo that won 3 state championships in Huntington High School. But now he's at Cabell Midland. Lloyd, stand up. Lloyd McGuffin. Our school superintendent, Dr. Ryan Sachs. I knew him when he was in the Cabell Midland High School band. And one of the main reasons I came home was a wonderful woman who taught me once in band, always in band. And once a West Virginian, always a West Virginian. She was first band director at Cabell Midland High School. She's now on the Board of Education. I don't know how you do it, but she's my mom's best friend, and my mother's crazy as a bat. But Rhonda Smalley, please stand up. And as they open the curtain to the Cabell Midland Jazz Nights, I have a very, very dear friend here who is our Lieutenant Governor for the state of West Virginia. He's our Senate President, and this man has more heart and soul and compassion for West Virginia because he taught me that we the people means everybody, and I've seen him do it on the floor when he fought bigotry and hate. And Mitchell Bryan, you need to come up here and wish these people well. Tell them how great West Virginia is. So welcome the Lieutenant Governor and Senate President of the state of West Virginia, Mitchell Bryan Carmichael.
Well, thank you. It's an honor and a pleasure to be with you this morning, and welcome to West Virginia. I'm sorry I'm dressed casual. It's Friday. It's a wonderful day, and I didn't plan on working all day today. But I do want to say, from the perspective of the importance of the arts, not only in West Virginia but throughout the education system in America, how it truly adds to the education environment. We recognize that in the state Senate and in the legislature in general. We realize the value of how that can edify an entire education system and bring value and worth and performance not only to the arts but to all avenues and all disciplines within the education environment. So we thank you for your advocacy on behalf of the arts, and we look forward to working with you to advance those causes in West Virginia and to rise all levels of education, not only with the arts, but in all areas of our education system. We know how vitally important that is, and we want to work diligently with you to advance those causes. And so, Randall, thank you for your continued, absolute dedication to this cause.
Thank you for the 20% increase to our arts budget.
Yes, all right. We just did 20? Well, I have learned this, that it's rather than argue with him, you're better off just to go ahead and give it. But again, thank you. It's an honor. It is a complete honor to have you with us today. So thank you so very much. Thanks, Randy.
So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from Ona, West Virginia, in Cabell County, the Cabell Midland Jazz Nights under the direction of the indescribable, undeniable, my best friend, Timothy R. James.
Ready? 1, 2, 3, oh.
Love you, Randall.
Just friends, lovers no more. Just friends, but not like before. To think of what we've been and not kiss again seems like pretending it isn't the ending. Two friends drifting apart. Two friends, but one broken heart. We loved, we laughed, we cried, and suddenly love died. The story ends, we're just friends. Just friends, lovers no more. Just friends, but not like before. To think of what we've been and not kiss again seems like pretending it isn't the ending. Two friends drifting apart. Two friends, but one broken heart. We loved, we laughed, we cried, and suddenly love died. The story ends, we're just friends. We're just friends.
Thank you, Mr. James. You're certainly welcome.
Madam Chair, West Virginia is yours for the next 2 seconds. Say goodbye.
I am pleased to announce that the National Council on the Arts has reviewed the applications and guidelines presented to them, and a tally of the council members' ballots reveals that all recommendations for funding and rejections have passed. So, are there any additional comments at the moment from the council? If not, I would like to again thank Commissioner Randall Reed Smith for his gracious hospitality and for his tremendous effort to make our time here in West Virginia so special. And a thank you to his team, Andrea, Bethany, and Lance, for all that you did as well. Thank you to the Governor and the First Lady for their unwavering support of the arts and for hosting us last night in the People's House. We are very grateful. And to your senators and your congressional delegation and to the Lieutenant Governor who all took time to come speak and talk about how the arts has such a big influence in West Virginia, we're thankful. On behalf of myself, the NEA staff, and members of the National Council on the Arts, thank you for welcoming us to the Mountain State. The 194th meeting of the National Council of the Arts is now adjourned.
Thank you. Let's go have lunch.